Aloha, marhaba, bienvenidos, bienvenue, konnichiwa, basically welcome. Michelle McLemore, Healing Guide, here today. We're not on the porch for a normal porch chat. My battery was running a little low, so I'm going to talk today with you about the top stressors expressed in our private Facebook group, Freedom from Anxiety, Stress, and Lupus. And during the poll, the top rank one was career or job stress. Second highest was the school education stress. Not surprising there that those two would be the top two. So I do want to focus on career or job stress today. So I'm going to give a few moments here for anybody who is in the group to log on. And hopefully, if you are able to log on, please type a message, let me know you're here. And as we're going through, if you have questions, please help out. The category of looking at job or career stress is kind of vague. There's a lot of different parts that can go into that. So I would like, if anybody's watching, and if you watch this later, give us a comment about what aspect, what particular facet when you're thinking about. Hope you're doing well. Hi, Carla. Carla's on. Welcome, Carla. And so we're going to wait another moment or so. So it's a pretty decent day here in Michigan. It's about 86, I think, was where we topped off. I'm not sure. How about you, Carla? Where are you at, and what's the weather like there? While we're waiting for a few other people to pop in. Again, this is, we're going to be talking about work or career stress today. And as people are coming on, asking you to say hello and give us a little bit about if you have a specific aspect of career or job stress that you're interested in learning how to handle a little bit better, go ahead and pop that into the comments, and we'll be sure to address those. So as we get started again, some of the people may be popping in at different times, some may be watching this video later. So whenever you do, let me know when you try these certain things. Missouri, 82 degrees and cloudy. All right, Carla, so we're similar, but cloudy. I don't know if that's giving you more humidity and make it more miserable, or if it's all right down there. But glad that you joined me. So when we're thinking about job stress, a couple different aspects. Is it a matter of getting up in the morning? So I'm just going to run through some of the possibilities. And again, as somebody joins on, and Carla, jump in for me too, please let me know what's the aspect that causes the most stress. Good. It's nice down there. Good. So it could be something, when we think about jobs and our career, I'm going to go ahead and start. It could be as simple as getting up in the morning is tough because maybe you slept poorly. And again, this group, we've got anxiety, we've got chronic stress. We also have people with lupus or lupus-related conditions in here. So it could be a variety of things. We could have pain. It could be you slept horrible because your hips were hurting or throbbing all night long and you just kept waking up. It could have been you're anxious and you have an anxiety about life and the job, and that kept you from sleeping well. So quality of sleep the night before can impact getting up. That gives you that hangover, that dread feeling. Maybe that's an issue. Maybe you're having endurance or stamina through the day. Maybe that's the issue. Maybe you are chronically ill, you have been, and you haven't told anybody at work. And now that your concern is, gosh, is somebody going to notice? So you've got this mental concern, this mental anxiety going on about, am I up to par for your own expectations? In addition to, gosh, is anybody going to notice? How am I going to handle that? And you haven't necessarily thought about how you're going to communicate, what your needs are, if they've changed. Commute. I remember at one point, when I was really in the throes of the lupus, I ended up having to get a hang tag, a temporary handicap permit. I only used it once. And I was also walking, I think I was walking with a cane at that point, because just the physical exertion was all I could do. I mean, it seemed like all I could do. And so I actually used the handicap parking spot at one point, and I wasn't prepared for the questions and the comments because I hadn't shared, so that maybe that's, maybe the commute from just the parking lot getting into your office is a big deal, first thing. Okay. Other things, focus, concentration, unintentionally bothersome jokes from coworkers or bosses, concern about your productivity, I think I mentioned, founded versus unfounded concerns. Sometimes we freak ourselves out. We imagine all sorts of scenarios, and that becomes a feeding ground for anxieties and fears, which are never healthy and never good. But even the people with chronic illnesses can get caught into this, in the what-if situations, and suddenly you're spending more time on the what-if situations, and it's draining you mentally and emotionally, then that's going to turn into your physical emotion and exhaustion as well. And then there's the big question about just the pressure to make money. Maybe you're the primary breadwinner in your family. Maybe your job is what you're using for insurance. And so maybe you have some concerns about if you can do the job, how long can you do the job? And the other part of that is, do you enjoy the job? If we don't enjoy the job and we feel the pressure we have to keep that particular job at the time, and we have concerns about what's going on at home, then it can feel like a triple whammy and we feel like we've struck out. So all those are possible things. So let me know, anybody who is listening in, what if any of those are any of those concerns of yours for why work can be a stressor? So I'll give a pause for a moment here and see if any of those resonate with people watching. And I'll take a drink of my iced tea. Okay, wait another second here for anybody else to weigh in. And Carla, did you have a specific, any of those things that I mentioned are resonating with you down there in Missouri? Feel free to pop on and let me know. Okay. Otherwise, I will go on here in a few moments and talk about a couple of those aspects. Shooting for only about 10, 15 minutes. I always say 5, 10 minutes, and it ends up about 15, 20 minutes, so we'll see where we're at here. But looking at, in general, what makes the job stressful, okay? So I'm going to give a few moments here and wait for people to add in. And while we're waiting, I just want to explain a little bit. I feel I use all my energy at work and nothing is left for home. Okay. I'm going to make a note of that and then go on with what I was saying there. So thank you so much for adding that in. Okay. So just to clarify up front again, psychology-wise, the term is a stressor for things that can cause discomfort or using, making us feel like we're using our energy, challenging us. And these stressors can affect everybody differently. Two people can be in the exact same situation and it creates stress for one person and the other one thrives on it and they feel anticipation and excitement. They're like, woohoo, let's go. Okay, so stressors can vary person to person. So because it is a personal reaction to a stressor, one of the first things I want you to get out of this tonight is don't feel bad. If you feel stressed, don't compare yourself to anybody else because it is your body's reaction, your mind's reaction, your heart's reaction, and all that. Yes, could you change and eventually things not bother you? Absolutely, and that's what my job is to help people do. That's one of the things I help a lot of people with. So it can change over time. You don't have to always feel stressed about situation X, Y, Z, okay? But in the meantime, while you do know something is a trigger for you, don't make it worse by adding guilt or adding self-shame or adding criticism to yourself. That's not helpful at all. And it's not fair to you. For whatever reason, you're at the spot you are. Okay? And there are reasons. Don't doubt that. There are reasons for why you react the way you do. It is what it is. It's been your life path. They've built up. Okay? So to change that, you look at the different aspects. But in the meantime, coping techniques is what we're talking about today. All right. So let's talk a little bit about, Carla mentioned using up the energy at work. So let's definitely talk about that one first. Happens to a lot of people. You work yourself up. Your job could be really fast-paced or slow, but either way, it could zap your energy. So there are some really interesting different ways that a work environment can zap our energy. And this is where you have to do a little self-diagnosis, or you can follow up with me, or add into the comment section, and we'll bring this up together. But different things. You may or may not know that certain fluorescent lights can zap your energy and also create migraines and create tension and bolster actual physical muscle pain. There was a move a few years ago, probably about 5 to 7 years ago now. I know in the schools, these new fluorescent lights came out and they were cheaper. And so people were taking out all the lights and replacing them with these cheaper, supposedly more efficient fluorescent lights. The amount of migraines skyrocketed for students and staff members in these different buildings. And then there was different research that also started coming out going, oh, these are not the best lights for you. You need more. There's a different type of light that is still inexpensive, but it's more true to natural light. So that was something that's starting to come through and is being remedied. So it could be your light environment is contributing. Okay, so that's just one thing, work environment-wise. A lot of work environments also have not caught on to the biophilia research, which is basically nature immersion, bringing us back into nature. We've become so segregated, okay, that some of the things in nature, the greenery, the plants, all these different things which help us and help our bodies to function appropriately have been isolated. And so we're so far removed that we're missing these normal helpful aids to get through the day. So I know it sounds weird, but if you do a lot of computer work, and I don't know if that's your particular case, but I know for a lot of jobs, that is the transition. Even waiters and waitresses now have handheld computers that they're entering orders and zipping through. So one of the things that you can add to your work environment is plants. You get something that's reasonable to take care of, that you're not going to need a whole bunch of time, but if you can set it in your eye line, okay, and you'll hear me talk about biophilia and all this, but phenomenal research. Having a plant in your line of sight, research shows, has increased productivity in actual jobs where it's like assembly line stuff, has increased productivity and speed of this, as well as for office workers, computer workers, and so forth. Just taking that visual break to look at the plant every, chunk your time, 10, 20 minutes, actually helps you recover from the eye strain from the computer fatigue, and mentally and physically. Okay? If you can't do the plant, they found similar research to windows that have landscape views, and get this, even landscape paintings, prints on the wall. Not so much with the oceanscapes, they're usually the landscape paints. So as far as that stamina or fatigue, plants are a great thing. Increase your water. Okay, that's a big deal. There's something in energy therapy, which I work with, which is called grounding. And connecting to the earth energy can help you clear and also get a boost. If you find yourself pretty lethargic and you're spending most of your energy at work, under fluorescent lights all day. Okay, Carla, I'm seeing her comment come through. Is there any way that you can do a floor lamp near you? Do you have that possibility to switch and use a different light to shine it up, or a desk lamp? Or are you like in with other people and so they have to have the overhead lights on? That's something to think about for you guys. If you're in a smaller office or control your own workspace lighting, that could be something you could try, is a light that shines up like a floor lamp. Let's see what else. So lighting is a big deal. The plants, increasing your water intake. Most people walking around are severely dehydrated. And remember, if you drink coffee or caffeine, they say basically you need 2 glasses of water for every 1 glass of caffeinated drink that you have. Your body needs that water to work well, unless your doctor has told you specifically you're on a water restriction. They don't call it a diet, but health plan or whatever. You probably need to be drinking at least 1 glass of water every hour that you're awake. Obviously, you don't want to be having to use the bathroom all night long, so back that up, and somewhere in the day, drink a couple, and so that way you can stop at a reasonable hour, 2 hours before your bedtime or whatever. Other things to help you with energy work or energy while you're at work. The pacing, again, we talked about. See if you can do like some chair stretches every half an hour to an hour. Your body will get stiff, and then that'll increase your pain or your discomfort, and that'll cause more exhaustion. So it's really about, right now, taking a look as I'm talking about these things, what's your normal day look like health-wise? When you go in, Carla said she does a lot of computer work all day. So can you, and the chiropractor always talks about this too, we have bad posture. Okay, so we should, put your chin back, put your shoulders back, sit up, don't slouch, make sure the computer's at the right height. Like right now, he'd probably smack me, or my massage therapist mentor would. It should probably be right about there is where it should be, but no, it's on the dining room table. Okay, so the modifications that you can do, but as far as maintaining your energy level, stretching, getting your body movement will help. It will keep your lymphatic system moving. It will keep your circulatory system, and all those things, having some movement throughout the day. I'm not saying go walk around the building 6 times on your, if you get a break. But I am saying if you can incorporate small movement in there, chair yoga stretches, those kind of things. The water, if you can adjust the lighting, having a plant in there, doing some stretching while you're on the way to the copy machine, if you have to go to a separate spot for the copy machine. If that's in your work environment, actually standing up to go over to it versus just sliding your chair over. Those small, subtle movements can help keep your body moving without taxing it, okay? Now, the other thing is it emotional? Is it not physical stress that's wearing you down? Is it emotional stress because of the job? Okay, so we talked about lights, we talked about movement, we talked about water. If you're exhausted because of the job it is, that's another thing you need to think about. You don't have to immediately turn your resignation in, even though I'm sure lots of people would love to do that, okay? But the question is, did you ever like the job? If you did, when did it shift? And if it shifted, why did it shift? Is it matter just the timing? Maybe the job's pretty decent, enjoy it most days, or you could enjoy it. It's just you don't feel well, and family is complicated, or there's other aspects of it, of your life are melting into it now and making the job less comfortable. Okay. So those are the kind of things you need to think about if you think the stress of the job is emotional, mental. If it's boss or coworker related, all right, that's where the communication stuff has to come in. Yes, it can be complicated. Yes, work can be political. But there are ways to talk about it. There are ways to advocate for yourself if you're dealing with chronic illness in this. There's things like the American Disabilities Act. And anytime you communicate, I know there's concern. People freak out if you say you're suffering with depression, clinically diagnosed depression. They go, oh, you shouldn't tell people that. That's baloney. Okay. And yes, occasionally, once in a while, I'm going to say things that may offend or go against your personal, my viewers' personal beliefs at the time. I'm okay with that. We don't always have to agree. But mental health doesn't just mean that you're ill. Mental health is the whole scale, just like physical health is. And thank goodness Western society is finally talking about that and recognizing that, okay? So in communicating with your boss, it's not any different than somebody coming up with the flu and going, oh, I feel horrible, I'm throwing up, I need to go home, or whatever the issue is that they need an accommodation for. If you're dealing with a chronic illness, you have communication with your supervisor or whomever and talk about how severe, what kind of conversation do you need to have. It depends on how severe your issues are. The lighting is something the American Disabilities Act can assist with. So if you're in a group setting with others, find out what kind of lights up there first of all, and check with everybody in the room. Are people having more headaches since under those lights? Are they all pretty whipped by the end of the day? If so, I'd Google, look up what kind of lights they're using, make friends with your maintenance people, see if you can find out from them, do the research, walk in with, here's an alternative. We'd like to test this, or we'd like to try this out, or have the options to use a different light because of these health options. Healthier workers are more productive. So that is a fair request you can make. Okay, so remember we're talking about American Disabilities Act, or we're talking about health, if it's physical health things at the office. Remember, and this is the thing that doesn't always make sense to people up front. Identical treatment is not always fair. Okay, think of in education, there's this cartoon where the very short kid is given a box to look over a fence. The tall person is given the same exact box to stand on. Well, if they stand on that box, short person gets up there, the tall person is really up there, but the short person might not be able to see over the fence yet. Same treatment, it's not fair. It doesn't fit what the person needs, okay? So keep that in mind if you need to have those conversations with your coworkers. Because having an illness or having, and let me emphasize again, when you have these conversations, I would say temporary flare. I wouldn't say chronic illness unless you've already committed and you've decided that you're okay and you're going to carry this forever, okay? But there are reasonable short-term requests you can make. And if and when you need to talk with somebody, it can range from needing the light change to a load change to a different parking spot if you, God forbid, you have assigned parking spots. Lots of different little things. Maybe you need, maybe you're not snacking enough. I don't know what your eating pattern is throughout the day, but almonds are excellent for your memory and focus. If you can do nuts, if you don't have a nut allergy, those are actually really good to help you. So it might be maybe you need to have something in your system more often than just eating before you go to work, at lunchtime, and at the end. How we doing? Any questions so far? Feel free to jump in and add those in there at any time. Let's see here. So the communication, sharing. If sometimes when we hold what we're struggling with from our coworkers, then we get miffed really easily sometimes because they make a comment because they don't know that we're struggling. They don't know that we're exhausted or that we've had a migraine for 3 days or that we were up all night or whatever. Most people aren't. Only profanity is coming to mind right now. I apologize. Most people aren't bad-hearted. They're doing the best they can from what they know or what they think they know about life. Okay? And the people who are generally idiots or jerks, you're not going to care about them anyhow, what their reaction is. It's generally we get irritated by the ones who don't understand what it means to be sick when you don't look sick. Okay? So having that honest conversation, just concisely, sometimes is helpful to you. Again, if you're not struggling with the actual job load, you don't have to have it. Okay? Some of the other things we're talking about. So breathing stretches, plants or landscape pictures, water, protein shakes. Depending on what you're, again, talking about the food and nutrition, it might be something like that. You might need a pick-me-up more often than others do. Let's see here. What else? Being good to yourself as far as perspectives. I know some people, when they get sick and exhausted, they tend to fixate even more on perfectionism because they're worried about their job production. A lot of people will then self-criticize and over-agitate. Okay, thank you, Carla. We'll talk about that here in a moment. Thank you. And so you might have to let go or loosen up on any perfectionism that's adding extra stress at work too, whether it's physical or emotional, mental, what you're feeling. There are different attitudes. Sometimes all you can do, most of the time, all you can do is all you can do for a day. And you know that. So you wouldn't condemn somebody else who's struggling. You would still set deadlines and say, okay, if you know there's a deadline, what can you logically and reasonably do to meet that deadline? What do you need to have help with? Okay. So it's planning ahead, not waiting and then going, I can't reach it. Okay, so you do have that, still have responsibility to complete your job, but planning ahead. Okay, if you know you're exhausted, how are you still going to get the things done? If you're exhausted at home, and last thing on this part, and then I'll wrap that up for Carla on that part. I don't know if there's anybody else at home or not, but when we're exhausted, we do have to let some things go, because you can't push yourself beyond your limits at work. If you start working in some of the stuff I've talked about, getting some energy work done to help you get your system back balanced, and so you're drawing energy in properly throughout the day, that can help tremendously. But all that aside, all those interventions aside, when you're exhausted and you go home, a lot of people, a lot of women think, okay, the house hasn't been swept in X number of days, or I have to do this and this and this and laundry and blah, blah, blah. If there's somebody else at home and you know this is your pattern, this is time to have honest conversation with them. Guess what? It's their household as well. And it's a gift to allow other people to give to us. Let me say that again. We say it's a blessing to give, but if someone doesn't receive, if someone doesn't allow, if we don't allow people to help us, we are denying them the opportunity to feel what it's like to give, and to give from the heart. Even if it means we have to say, okay, you have to do the laundry this week. And they're like, oh, darn it. And maybe they don't want to initially give, but it's that opportunity, okay? So hard conversations sometimes for us to let things go or give things to others to do, but just hedge it in your mind as this is temporary, because it can be temporary. All right? But in the meantime, you still don't want to be stressed when you get home because the floor hasn't been swept, or because the dishes aren't done yet, because you haven't had the energy. You need your sleep. You need to recoup your energy, especially if you're not doing these other interventions. The body needs rest so it can regenerate, so it can heal, so it can transfer memories, days memories to long-term memory. All that stuff is vital, so you have to have that rest. And I remember sometimes, I distinctly remember there were times when I had to go to bed at like 4:30 and stuff didn't get done. I had to be okay with that, because I knew I had to get healthier so that I could get back on track and help other things out. And bless my husband for helping. He did a lot of stuff for a while when I was really severely ill. So hard conversations. It was a shift. He wasn't expecting that, but it's doable. People who love you, people who care about you, want you to get healthy. And you want to get healthy so then you can take care of them again as well. Okay? So tough conversations there. As far as, real quick on the focus and concentration, if that's an issue at work, I have an upcoming workshop Wednesday the 23rd here at the house, 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will try to, if you remind me, if you're interested, remind me, and I will live stream that for those of you who are not in Michigan, not in Southern Michigan, okay? As far as the sleep issue, 3 to 4 hours of decent sleep, toss and turn because of stiffness and aches. Okay, so Carla, for you and anybody else if this is an issue, because we talked about quality of sleep as being a thing. If we're talking about stiffness and aches, again, really do some quick self-evaluation for me and for you, and decide, is this arthritis? Is this food triggered? Because a lot of foods can trigger achiness, believe it or not. Is this leftover muscle issues from how you sit at work or where your desk is? Are you having neck issues? Is it where you hold stress? That kind of stuff, doing a self-diagnosis on that can help tremendously and allow me to give you more specific feedback on what you can do to help that. Okay. There's different type of essential oils you can use that will help the sleep, or you can put on at night to decrease the stiffness and achiness. Like muscle stiffness in general, if you're not allergic to it, this is one for some reason. There's I know several people allergic to lavender. But lavender is one that's really good for muscle stiffness. And you actually put it on before you go do like your gardening or whatever it is, so that way your muscle will stay relaxed while you're doing it and you won't end up stiff. For like neck stiffness, lavender is really good. Achiness, there's a bunch of different ones, so it really depends on what we're really talking about cause of the achiness. Believe it or not, ice packs versus heat I was brought up using a heating pad. That was like, oh, you don't feel well? Have a heating pad. Have a cup of hot tea. Here's some toast butter. That was my mom's answer for everything. And so it took me a while to realize that, yeah, the heating pad made me feel better emotionally, mentally, because it had that nostalgia to it. But actually, the ice pack helped more with inflammation. And so when there's the achiness, that could be the cause. So if you have inflammation, you don't want to use the hot packs. You want to use ice pack instead. Okay, so that's something you can look into. Breathing to help you go back to sleep. Slow, deep breathing. I had posted the other day about alternate nostril breathing, something you can try. Depending on what your spiritual or faith background is, prayer can actually help tremendously with going back to sleep. And it can be something simple. You can just ask, God, whatever your higher power is, angels, help. If you're anxious mind, if that's the issue, then ask to table those things. If you're worried that you think you'll forget, make a list before you go to bed of what your to-do list is so you can set it aside, okay? And then you're asking for, please help me remain asleep, get good quality sleep. It can be a simple request, setting your intention. If I wake up, I'm going to stay in bed. I'm going to work on deep breathing, picturing whatever color, that kind of deal, but you're going to try to stay in bed. You're not going to turn the light on. You're not going to check your phone. You're going to make sure there's no light in your room. Even the slightest the notification light on your phone is actually triggering your SNC in your brain, and that's the part that's constantly going, is it daytime? Is it nighttime? What do I need to do? How alert do I need to be? So trying to minimize the light in your room. All those different things can help there. I hope that gave you a couple things, Carla. Please feel free to do follow-up questions or PM me with more information on any of the topics we've talked about, or post to the video if you have more questions or things. Does that give you a little bit there? Ooh, we're running long, 19 minutes. Sorry about that. Give you a minute here to look over that. I'm going to check my notes real quick and see if there's anything else we haven't talked about. I think I posted the neck stretches. Yes, thank you. Good. All right. Wonderful, Carla. Thank you for letting me know there. Just that last thing I think I mentioned briefly about making money, stress is about the actual financial aspect. Again, think about, is what you're doing serving a purpose right now financially? Are you finding joy in it? Do you think it's part of your path? If it's not, are you doing something that gives you joy as a hobby or as a club or a community effort to balance what you're doing at work? Sometimes we have to do jobs that we don't enjoy, but are you finding that joy? Are you finding your heart passion at the same time? If not, we need to be finding a balance. And at some point then, being open, you might find the two can merge. Okay, so don't give up on that. We know we have to pay our bills. We know we feel good about being able to pay our own bills when we can. Okay, sometimes we run into financial struggles and we need some assistance, and that is okay. All right. But finding when we can merge our interests, our passion, our purpose together and get financially supported through that, whole different feeling. Okay, so don't give up on that. Feel free to send me any questions about that as well. All right, going a little bit long. So again, Michelle McLemore Healing Guide. Love you guys. Carla, thanks for joining me. And for those of you who watch the video later, send me questions, post them to the Freedom from Anxiety, Stress, and Lupus Facebook group, and we will talk about it. I want to generate these chats so they're very useful to you, okay? And know that I'm here for you. Know that I'm very proud of you for getting up every day, or at least not giving in, okay? Sometimes a step forward is a step forward. Sometimes staying in one spot is still progress, okay, because you have a step backwards. Reflect. Think about things I've said. Post any questions that you have. Send me any follow-ups, all right? Remember, this is the heart of the journey. This is your journey. This is your healing to better life, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and I'm here for you. I'm excited for you to be feeling better soon, okay? So much love. Take care of yourselves.